I chose love. Once, just once in my entire life, I put what I wanted ahead of what was expected. I chose a person over a position, a feeling over a future, and for a brief moment, I believed it was possible that love could survive in a world built on duty. I was wrong. What happened next taught me something I'll never forget, that in my world, choosing love over duty doesn't end in victory, it ends in loss. Complete loss. Today I'm going to tell you what happened when I made that choice, not to romanticize it, but to explain the cost. Because some lessons are only learned through pain, and this was mine. The moment I chose love, I knew what I was risking. I wasn't naive. I understood the system I lived in. I understood the expectations placed on me. I understood that personal desire was always supposed to be secondary to duty. But understanding something intellectually is different from feeling it. And in that moment, I felt something stronger than duty. I felt love, real love, the kind that makes you believe rules can be bent, that exceptions can be made, that if something is real enough, the world will adjust. So I chose her, not publicly, not dramatically, but privately, definitively. I told myself this was the person I wanted to build a life with, that I would find a way to make it work, that duty and love didn't have to be enemies, that I could have both. I was wrong. But in that moment, I believed it, and that belief gave me courage I didn't know I had. I made the decision, I chose love. And for a brief time, maybe weeks, maybe months, I lived inside that choice. I experienced what it felt like to prioritize my heart over my role, to be with someone because I wanted to, not because I was told to imagine a future that was mine, not inherited. It felt like freedom, and freedom, when you've never had it, is intoxicating. The palace didn't discover what I'd done through confrontation. They discovered it through observation, changes in my schedule, patterns in my behavior, moments I wasn't where I was supposed to be. Royal families don't need confessions. They have systems. Systems that notice everything. And once they noticed, the response was immediate, not loud, not angry, quiet, strategic. I was called into a meeting, not with my father directly, with advisors, people whose job is to manage problems before they become crises. They didn't accuse me, they didn't demand I end it. They simply outlined reality. This woman is not acceptable. She does not fit the requirements. Continuing this relationship will create consequences. I asked what consequences. The answer was clear. Your position, your future, your family's trust, everything you were raised to inherit. They didn't say I had to choose. They just made it clear what choosing love would cost. And the cost was everything. After that meeting, the pressure didn't stop. It intensified, not through threats, through structure. My schedule was reorganized, tightened, every hour accounted for. The spaces where I had freedom disappeared. The time I used to see her was filled with obligations I couldn't refuse, meetings I had to attend, appearances I had to make, responsibilities that left no room for anything personal. It was suffocating, but it was effective. Because without time, the relationship couldn't survive. Love needs presence, needs moments, needs the ability to exist without constant interruption. And all of that was systematically removed. I tried to resist. I tried to create space. I rearranged things. I found moments in the margins. But every time I did, the structure tightened further until there was no margin left, just duty. Constant, unrelenting duty. And in that suffocation, I realized something painful. They weren't going to let me choose. They were going to make the choice for me. By making love impossible, there was a final conversation, not with the palace, with her. She saw what was happening. She felt the distance growing, not emotional distance, logistical distance, the kind created when someone's life is being controlled by forces you can't fight. We met one last time, away from everything, away from the eyes that were always watching. I tried to explain that I wasn't choosing duty over her, that I was being forced into a corner, that I was fighting but losing. She listened, and then she said something I'll never forget. You're not fighting, you're delaying, and delaying is not the same as choosing. She was right. I wasn't fighting, because fighting would have required me to do something I couldn't do. Walk away from everything, reject my role, abandon my family, burn every bridge I was raised to protect. I couldn't do that. Not because I didn't love her, but because the cost was too high, too permanent, too destructive, and she knew it. She knew I would never actually choose her over duty. Not because she wasn't worth it, but because I was never built to make that choice. I was built to endure, to sacrifice, to prioritize the system over myself. And that programming, that deep lifelong conditioning was stronger than love. So she made the decision for me. She left, not with anger, with clarity. She said, I can't wait for you to choose me when we both know you never will. I deserve someone whose life has room for me, and yours doesn't. And she was right. My life didn't have room, not because I didn't want it to, but because the system had already decided. What I lost when I chose love, and then lost it anyway, was more than a person. I lost belief. Belief that my life could include something chosen freely. Belief that personal happiness was achievable. Belief that duty and desire could coexist. All of that died. And what replaced it was acceptance. Cold, clear, absolute acceptance that my life would never include love the way other people experience it. That relationships for me would always be structured, approved, arranged. That choosing freely was a privilege I was never going to have. And that acceptance, that resignation, changed me. I stopped hoping. I stopped imagining alternatives. I stopped believing that anything could be different. And I focused entirely on duty. Because duty, at least, was something I could control, something I could succeed at, something that didn't require hope, just discipline. Not long after she left, the arranged marriage was set, quickly, quietly, to someone appropriate, someone who fit every requirement, someone the system approved of. I entered that marriage with respect, but not with my heart, because my heart had already been broken. Not by the woman I loved, but by the system that made loving her impossible. My wife has done nothing wrong. She fulfills her role. She is a good mother, a good partner in the practical sense. But the foundation of our marriage is duty, not choice. And that foundation shows in the distance, in the formality, in the absence of what could have been if I had been allowed to choose. I don't resent her, but I do carry the memory of what it felt like to choose, to love freely, to believe, even briefly, that happiness was possible. That memory doesn't fade. It just becomes something I carry, privately, quietly, in the spaces where duty doesn't reach. What happened when I chose love over duty taught me something brutal, that in my world, love doesn't win, duty always wins. Not because love is weak, but because the system is stronger, and the system doesn't negotiate. It waits, it pressures, it creates conditions where the choice becomes inevitable. And then it moves forward as if nothing happened. I learned that choosing love is not rebellion, it's delay, because eventually duty will reclaim what was always supposed to be its, your time, your loyalty, your future, and love, no matter how real, cannot survive without those things. I also learned that I am not strong enough to choose love permanently. Not because I lack courage, but because I lack the willingness to destroy everything else. And that unwillingness is not weakness. It's programming that started before I was born, that shaped every lesson I learned, that made duty feel like identity. And Once duty is identity, choosing against it feels like choosing against yourself. And no one is strong enough to do that for long. What happened when I chose love over duty? I lost the person I loved. I lost the belief that my life could be different. I lost the hope that personal happiness was achievable. And I learned that in my world, duty is not optional. It's absolute. Love was real. The choice was real, but the consequences were more real, and the consequences won. They always do. So now I carry two things: the memory of what it felt like to choose, and the knowledge that I'll never choose again, not because I don't want to, but because I know what it costs, and not willing to pay that price twice. That's what happened when I chose love over duty. I learned that some choices are illusions, and some systems are unbreakable, no matter how much you love. If this story helped you understand my life, I'm glad, not because I need sympathy, but because understanding, even of painful truths, matters. Thank you for listening.